Am I clicking things? Where am I? What am I doing? I need that. That's not right, is it? That's better. There we go. Alright, coming in now. Coming in hot. Hello. 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 I've still got a thing going on. Lovely. Well, that's enough of all that then. Hey, good evening. You're very welcome here this evening on this rather late Sunday evening. I'm dead tired, dog tired, I would say. So the likelihood of me surviving the evening, you might have to just talk amongst yourselves. We'll see how that goes. But do let me know if you can hear me okay. I think that's all right. It might even be a little loud. This is the thing where because I'm using a new audio interface, which is very exciting in of itself, although that's been a little while now. I haven't done this often enough to quite get to grips with exactly what I'm doing yet. Must be a little chilly. Well, it has been. I mean, it's a little bit chilly on the walk from the house to the shed. In here now under the lights, it's actually quite warm, funnily enough. But if you could stop talking amongst yourselves just for a moment and just let me know that the sound is okay, I'd be grateful. It's not a cowboy vibe. Am I giving off cowboy vibes? Good Lord. Hang on, let me try to get comfortable. That seems unlikely. Sound and vision fine, says Ken. Good, you're always reliable, mate. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. I'm just gonna... I just need to relax a little bit. That would be great. It's a little hot. What? My voice is a little hot. 1, 2, 1, 2. See, I can see that over there. It's a peak. I mean, I could either move that away or I could turn that down. You see, these are the conundrums. The conundrums one has when trying to do things properly. Oh, it's spot on, somebody says. So then, there you go. Whoever said it was too hot, I'm not going to believe a word. So why can I still hear this, which is turned down? Because I'm using a bleeding mixer. See, I don't know what I'm doing. See, this is the first time I've used the Qubit Nautilus and it actually sounds watery. I mean, I usually use the Nautilus with because I don't have any idea what it's supposed to be doing or anything about it. But I insist on keeping on trying to use it in the vain hope that I will somehow intuit my way into it. And inevitably what it does is sort of a bit of delay that I don't quite understand. And so either I just let it run or I end up plumbing into something else. But this time, there's definitely something watery going on, although it might be the wasp. Anyway, we've got a lovely lot of people in tonight. Thanks ever so much for coming along. It's really good to see you. If you're new here, welcome. You're very, very welcome. What happens on these live streams is that I sit here and run on about stuff for as long as I can bear it. And you throw in, you know, comments and questions and arguments from the chat. We talk about music technology, we talk about synths, we might play some music or not. I mean, I just threw together this quick little tiny patch, but I say I can still hear. What can I hear it through? Is it going through that? Why would it be going through that? Oh, it's through my headphones. That's odd. But never mind, I'm not going to worry about it too much. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so we talk about... Sounds like a wasp. You didn't know. You didn't know till I said. No way. You're going to tell me that you can do those blind filter... Anyway, let's not get distracted. So yeah, so we talk about synths and stuff, maybe make some music, chat about the world of music technology, things that happen in the Molten Monthly, other stuff that's going on in our lives, that kind of thing. Drink some beer. That's the general idea. It's not serious particularly. You're very welcome to ask a question, even if you're new and never done it before. Do so. With a bit of luck, I'll answer it honestly and nicely. Occasionally I might answer it in a slightly sarcastic way, and it's not because I don't love you, it's simply because I find that kind of funny. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I had a very interesting conversation with somebody about the Molten Monthly this month, who had a bit of a, I don't know, he had an axe to grind about something. I wasn't quite sure what it was half the time, but it was kind of fun, sort of entertaining his ideas, which particularly focused around the idea that he can't stand all these people who debate stuff on the internet and the YouTube, and how pointless and useless it is. And so I then proceeded to engage him in a debate on the internet about precisely the things that he was moaning about people shouldn't have debates about on the internet, which was personally hilarious to myself. But he just got incredibly frustrated and then told me to, you know, to go stick one. So that, unfortunately, that I've just had to take the comment off because it just felt stupid, really. Because I've gotten far less philosophical, I suppose, about the idea of allowing comments to exist and to hang there in the internet as little bits of bad cheese that stink the place up. And these days I just delete them, because if they're not very nice, they're not very nice. I've decided that I'm no longer trying to foster an idea of balance in my own work. I just want the good stuff. I can't be doing with the bad stuff anymore. Why put up with that on my own channel, for heaven's sake? So there's a bit of advice to people out there if they're thinking of commenting on my stuff. Very welcome to do so. But if you're sort of mean, then I'll just take it off. You know, there is no rule that says I must leave these things up, and so generally speaking, I won't. Although I might have a bit of fun with you first. I hope that's okay. More new gear? asked Total. No, I've just organised it. I mean, my shed is usually, customarily, an absolute state, but just at the minute, it's actually quite nice. I've got all of my modular now out in cases. I've got a whole load of cases going on down here. I'm thoroughly enjoying my two new Bafako cases, because I'm trying to focus at the same time as making everything available, if that makes sense. Because I was, for a while there, I just had stuff everywhere. It was piled up dangerously in all sorts of places and boxes, and things were getting lost and trashed. And so I really felt that I needed to get kind of a grip on it, as well as working towards more live performance, which I haven't done since Synth East, and putting together more of a focused vibe, I think. But also I've got lots and lots of new modules that I need to be reviewing, and I need to focus down on those and really think about what it is that I'm doing. And when things get put in drawers or put in boxes, I tend to lose all track of what the heck is going on. The downside is that now I can spot about a dozen things that I need to do videos on, and I don't have the time for that. But it definitely feels really nice to have set everything out a bit more properly, and there's more room on the floor, and that it just makes my whole environment feel much better, and that's a really nice and positive thing. So that's great. I mean, it's still a terrible space for making music because I can hear the farmyard animals next door. I can hear all the strimmers and the lawnmowers and the Eurofighters going overhead. It's not a nice soundproofed space. And of course, everyone can hear me either shouting and hollering into a microphone or playing loud electronic noises, which I guess I've made the decision in my mind that I don't care about that. Because I'm down the bottom of my own garden. If I'm down the bottom of my own garden, it means that no one can hear me, although obviously everyone can. But in my head, that's all that's important, is that no one can actually hear me. So, yeah. Now, I've often looked into a bunker. In fact, there's the old RAF Cotteshall base, which is like 2 miles from here, which when that was decommissioned, it's been very slowly turned into a business park. And I know that there's a guy who has a studio who runs it in one of the old bunkers. And I would love that. I mean, in fact, I would love to have my studio in the control tower. That would be the most awesome sense of serendipity that I think there ever could be. Because the fact that I'm an ex-air traffic controller, that would be some kind of full circleness that to end up in that space. I mean, this great raised glass tower, to have all the synths and the lights and the twinkly stuff going on in there would be amazing. But can I get that place to rent me a thing? No, I can't. They're a bit weird. I had this long conversation with them saying, I'm trying to find somewhere interesting without actually saying, can you just give me a bunker? I would try to sort of tease out of them the idea that I wanted to do music in a studio. Do you have something like that? Something weird or strange? And they kept offering me like an office space and with next to somebody else's office. I said, no, that's not what I'm after. I'm after something odd, which I can just make use of, as opposed to something which is properly kitted out, ready for your next business moving in. But anyway, I never got anywhere with it. But who knows what may happen with that at some point. It would be great. Open the beer. Yeah, sorry. So I'm back on the Greenkin stuff, which of course is from Suffolk, not from Norfolk, as I have previously said. Yeah, no, not a lot of people know that. It wasn't for very long. I mean, it had a massive impact on my life because I joined air traffic control at the tender age of 19 after failing all my A-levels. I decided rather than go to university, I would do something else. And so my nan came across the road with a clipping from the paper saying, be an air traffic controller. We're seriously low on numbers, have no idea what we're doing, and so we need to recruit people from all over the place rather than just the military. We've been told, it said. And so I thought, well, that sounds more interesting than working at Little Chef, which is where I was at the time. So I applied, and as it turns out, I have the right brain for the whole thing. Well, kind of the right brain. I don't have the right attitude, but I have the right brain. And so through all the weird interviews and aptitude tests and psychological profiling, I just aced everything. And they thought, good Lord, this guy's a natural. And so I then went through like a year and a half of air traffic control training down at the centre in Bournemouth, which was, well, it was both interesting, fascinating, boring as hell, and sort of exciting all at once, all rolled into one. I mean, it's some of the most boring learning I've ever had to do, just the learning of factual information about heights of aircraft and separation and flight speed and dynamics and all this stuff, but mixed in with really interesting stuff, like you were flipping controlling aircraft, imaginary aircraft. So that was cool. And then I sorted all that out. I got got great marks at all of that sort of stuff, and then went to actually work at LATSI up near Heathrow, West Drayton. So the radar centre, not on a tower, although I did train in a tower for a couple of months at London City, funnily enough. I know this is fascinating stuff. So I did a couple of months at London City Airport, which was beautiful. That was a hell of a lot of fun, that was. But then I got streamed into radar, which was really hard, and my brain somehow stopped learning, and it just didn't go very well. I mean, I gave it a year or so, and they gave me a year or so, and then said, "No, you're not getting this, are you?" And I went, I don't know. I seem to be turning into a bit of a hippie, and I don't really appreciate the politics around here. They said, "Yeah, I think it's time for you to go." So I was asked to leave. It's a shame. I could have a very different life now, very, very different life. But so yeah, I was making really good money in my early 20s, and then went down to nothing. Became a student, went down to negative equity for a good long time, and I've never really recovered. But as I say, it was like 3 years of my life, but at the particular time of my life that seemed so important, Interesting. And sadly, I'm not in touch with anybody from that time anymore. I've got like 2 people I managed to run into on Facebook about 10 years ago, but I haven't spoken to anybody since, which is a shame, because it still fills my dreams. I still every now and again wake up in a sweat over those bloody 2 flights at 350, flight level 350, which I missed, and I didn't see them, and I didn't kill anybody. This is simulator training, but anyway, yeah, let's get on to happier times. So who's in the chat then? We've got 120 people. What are you all doing up on a Sunday night? What has happened? What's going on? Has there been an event or something, and everyone's just coming back and having a drink and turning me on? That's a bit weird. But it's lovely to see you all. Shall I go through and say some highs? Hi, Simon, great to see you. Booze, great to see you. You're on Twitch, man. Very good. You're a fellow ex-ATC, really? Medical issues being that they're just a complete bunch of idiots. It's crazy talk. Crazy talk. Jeff, good to see you. Hi, Wagyu. Lovely. Hamza, great. Amazing Microsoft Surface videos. Cool, yeah. Just got the 9 and doing music on it. Nice. Yeah, no, the 9. I mean, the 9 is what I'm currently running the chat and monitoring my video stuff on here. It's good. It's a solid performer. I mean, when I did my performance testing on the Surface Pro 9, I suddenly discovered all this new generation and architecture of CPUs that I hadn't had any idea about, because I no longer build computers. I mean, 5 years ago, I would have been absolutely all over it. I would have been the master of cutting edge CPU technology. But, as soon as you're out of the game, you are out of the game. And unless you're a fanatic, which I wasn't any longer, I wanted to do something else. So I completely lost touch with what Intel are doing and all that kind of thing. So this whole business with primary and secondary oscillators, primary and secondary cores, and or whatever that's about, it just completely took me by surprise. I had no idea that was all going on. However, in the testing that I did, from what I understood, it was working fine. It was all working fine. And actually, if you leave it to manage itself pretty much, provided you keep it plugged in at the very least, it seems to perform really nicely. I mean, you've got Windows 11 in the mix as well, which is just a little bit kooky in places. As in, it tries to hide everything from you and throw a load of stuff at you. It's like, oh, great, widgets are back. Awesome. I love those. I love those in Longhorn. Have we now got to deal with it again? Flipping it. So, yeah, provided that it keeps me up to date on the weather. I mean, obviously, we always need that, don't we? The weather and stocks and shares that I don't have keep popping up. Anyway, I digress. But it seems, as far as the processor goes, very, very well behaved, which was very, very good to see. It's not always the case on a Surface, but on the 9, it seemed like it knew what it was doing and it was coping with it all right. And so I didn't really need to fiddle with it too bad. So so my general 2 cents on the Surface Pro 9 is that, yeah, that seems to be working pretty well. I haven't done any more than what I did in the video because I don't really use a computer in that way so much anymore. But whenever I'm demoing something, and I will be doing more sort of software style demos, I'll be doing some recording through the mixer here and again onto the Surface Pro 9. So it will get used as an audio device within this environment here. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in it, I have to say. And as a machine, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I like the fact that I'm no longer accidentally turning it off when I'm plugging things in, but I don't like where the power socket is now. You know, halfway up the side is a bit weird. But otherwise, it's a beautiful, beautiful machine. Andrew, good to see you. Madcap, good. Exorb, Steve, good to see you. Cornish Waves Music, hi. Swaggerbauer. Radar knobs, yeah. Fluorescent pink and lime green, my favourite colours. What? Dead Man Walking, good to see you. I'm not going to go back through everybody because that's just crazy, but it was really good to see you all. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Oh, you've got like 3 people in Twitch. No way. That's so exciting. So exciting. Any DD update? Well, it's up there, mate. The Deckard's Dream, like I say, is 98% finished. It's good. I did a demo on it and everything. I haven't looked at the dodgy voice. No, I haven't. I haven't had time to do that. I'm unlikely to find time for that for a little while yet, I shouldn't think. And that's okay. That's okay. I really did sort of fill up my interest vats on the Deckard's Dream. So it feels pretty satisfied at the moment. I don't feel like it's nagging at me to get it finished completely. I feel like I really got to a good space with that, but I will give it another look. I just happen to have a mountain of work, and I'm still not seeing the other side of that yet. I think when those things start to open up again. Is that really difficult place when you're a freelancer of wanting to see the other side of the work, but at the same time needing the work to keep coming in? Because then what are you going to do? You have to start making stuff up. So, you know. Yeah, the cockerel is a YouTube star. It certainly is. Certainly is. Nothing I can do about that now. Yeah, have I gone a bit Lemmy? Do you think that? I don't know. I've decided just to go with it, you know, because I found, I mean, you know, the beard story. I don't know how many of you other gentlemen out there have quandaries over the whole beard thing. Is that I really liked it. 10 years ago, I think was when I first had it. Because I definitely had it when I started Molten, which is 10 years this year. So I really liked it then because I was kind of still 10 years ago. I still looked relatively fresh faced, and the grey beard was just kind of odd, and I liked that. Oddness is good. Oddness and quirk. That's a good thing in my book. The problem is now is that I look old. My face, you know, my face is wrinkled and old, and the beard just made me look even older. And so I just felt that I've not got a whole lot left, a whole lot of time left before I'm an OHP until I'm an overhead projector. So I figured I've got to recapture some youth somewhere. So, I mean, I could take the whole lot off, but I thought, oh, sod it. I mean, an interesting moustache. Why not? Let's do that and see if that works. Because I'm not a big fan of my chin particularly. And this frames it nicely. It's beautiful, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. But hey, it's only hair, as they say. Anyway, I am going to fast forward to the end of the messages because, you know, if you're asking me things now, I'm going to spend ages just going back in time. And that's pointless. So if you ask me something in the past, I'm now going to ignore that and just going to skip to the present. So if you have something desperate you want to ask me, ask it again, and that's going to be okay. So whoop, I'm zooming back to the other end. Less like a wizard and more like a biker. Yeah, all right. Are you doing any builds coming up? Yes. Yes. I've got a couple right here actually that I sorted out just the other day because I need to keep remembering what it is that I'm building. So in here I've got the oscillator from Apollo View, the oscillator. I have a couple of bits of theirs actually, but it's this one that I'm particularly interested in. So I've got that coming up soon. And I've got this fella here. Does it have something on it I can show? No, it's just a whole bunch of parts. But this one is... Does it have anything on the box? Well, I'll show you that. Look, the Vino Echo. This is from Venus Instruments. So I've got an Apollo View one and a Venus Instruments one to do. Those are next on my building agenda. I do also have a Bafaco sort of portable power supply. I've got an MS-20 filter over there that some nice person gave me at Super Booth. I've got a few bits actually, to be fair. But these were the two that were most on my mind, so I want to get stuck into those when I can. So that's on the build side. Hi Joe, good of you to join us. Super simple. Well, funny enough, I built this today. This thing in here. It was just a bunch of patch sockets stuck onto a PCB. It's the back to front from Voltage Vibes. God bless him, Peter over in Belgium, I think. Belgium, man. And it's got. So what I'm trying, because what I'm working towards, right, is doing a review of the Big 6 mixer. This behemoth over here, which is just going to use up all of my time. I don't know what on earth, why I agreed to do it. I must be nuts. But it's a really good subject of using a mixer in a synthesizer environment. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it useful? Is it not? That kind of thing. And since I've started looking at this, all sorts of people have said they have one, and I've seen it all over the place. So I think it's a popular solution. And what SSL hope is that I'm going to love it and be able to show it, and everyone's going to buy one, which is certainly very possible. But it's a heck of a lot of work for me, because it's a complicated device, and I don't use mixers very often. And so in making a video about it, I've got to kind of drill down on why it is that I want it. What is it about? How do I use it? What the heck do these things do? And what's the best way to use those? So I've got to spend quite a bit of time on it, which is not ideal. See, this is that whole bit where other people are better at this than me, in as much as that a company comes to them and says, yeah, do you fancy having a go at this mixer? They'll go, yeah, absolutely, 500 quid and I'll give it a go. See, I don't do that. I'm incapable of asking those sorts of questions. I go, yeah, okay, I'll have a look, because I'm generally keen about things. And so I end up getting myself into a situation where I feel obliged to do a proper video. And if I'm doing a video on something, my inclination is to do it right. And that's always the worst. If only I had, listen to me talk. If only I had crapper standards, then I could just bash out videos in like next to no time, saying nothing about a thing. That's what I should do, and that's what I seem to be incapable of doing. When I make a video, I agonize over it, and I hate the idea that I might do something which is not quite right, or not giving the right information across, or not being honest or authentic. All those kinds of things I struggle with, man. I really wrestle with these ideas. And so I've lumbered myself with this wonderful, huge mixer that I'm going to have to fight my way through and do a decent video on. And it will be great. I've got a lot of good ideas and good thoughts, and I know what I'm doing. So one of my first stages, stage 29 of 600 stages, is to put this thing in here. So the idea is that this is it's called a back to front. So it's just a row of patch sockets with a row of patch sockets behind it, inverted, so that I can plug a patch into here, and that is patched out of my Molten's hole over here into the mixer. See, flipping genius. Rather than trying to stretch cables from here directly in, I'm just doing it via a little patch bay, which I think makes me look more like I know what I'm doing. And it gives me an opportunity to to say voltage vibes, yeah, great, that kind of thing. So so that's what that's all about. So that was just a little soldering I did earlier today, which was great. I love that. Just trying to think, what other kits? Because I had a whole stack. No, I do over there. Yeah, I've also got a lot of 1U kits to do for bits and pieces. All sorts, all sorts. Do. Oh, Solid is saying that over on Twitch that the transcoding is much better. That's interesting. We should all head over to Twitch, I think. That's a little bit scary. We're so familiar with YouTube and how that works and how that functions that trying to do something different is difficult. We are creatures of habit, I'm afraid. The compressors, says Di about the Big Six. Yeah, really? Well, obviously that's one of the things I want to look at, because I mean, coming at the SSL Big Six, I'm coming from a position of that I'm not a sound engineer. I mean, you know, I have qualifications. I have a degree in music technology. I've worked in a music shop for a long time. I have been in studios, but I haven't spent 10 years of my career working on SSL consoles anywhere. You know, that's not been my work experience at all. So coming to this, I don't come to this thinking, oh, I wonder if this is just like that SSL that I used back in Abbey Road or whenever it was I worked there. I don't have that. So I'm coming at it completely fresh, which I think gives me a good perspective, you know, a different perspective to most people. Because I've seen some videos on it where, you know, people are just going on about how are the compressors on it. They're just not like the compressors on they're not really like the G series compressors. And I'm going, I don't know what any of that means. I mean, does it compress? Does it? I mean, in which case, great. Or if that's good or not, I don't know. I mean, look, I can compress this one. You ready? So I got that coming through, assuming you can hear me both. I can turn on the compressor. Isn't that great? Exactly. I can turn it off again. So yeah, the compressors are awesome, but it depends on your source material. Of course it does. So plugging in a mic, I think, might make a difference there, or putting in a drum machine. That's going to be interesting. So those sorts of things are going to check out. Do you need any of it? Is any of it any good? Is any of it helpful? And why the heck are the sends called cues? I don't understand what that's about. But then there we go. There we go. I'm not a big on mixers, but I think the most interesting thing I'm going to do, the plan to do, is that I have this mixer, right? Used this a lot for gigs and stuff. It's great. It has exactly the same feature set as the Big Six. Exactly the same. I mean, it doesn't have compressors, but otherwise, channel count, it's the same. And this was £50. That's £2,500 or something. I don't know. So I'm going to do a side-by-side A/B comparison with this and that. And I think that'll be interesting, because I want to know why I would spend all the money on something like that. What good is that going to do me? If I'm just trying to mix some signals together, what difference does investing a large amount of money actually make? Does it make a difference? Is there a difference? Can we hear a difference? I mean, there's going to be a difference in workflow, definitely, because I've got the size and the interaction, but also the complexity plays a part. You know, the Big Six is boggling my mind. Whereas that, you just keep turning stuff until it works. So interesting, I think. And I'm sure SSL are going to be too happy about the idea of me doing that, because I predict that you're not really going to be able to tell the difference. And then I'm going to have to start trying to work out in my head why these things are different. Or maybe there will be a big difference. I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out either way. But essentially, you're just mixing signals together. I mean, how hard can that be, right? How hard can that be? See, I don't know anything. I'm sure you're all screaming in the chat now, telling me about what an idiot I am. Yeah. Anyway, Ian, I'm sorry that your Novation circuit died. That's very, very sad. Anyway, 2 for all €1. Yes. Yes. Sort of. I mean, it's mostly 1U molten motion meters, to be fair. Cable management. Yeah, yeah. Electric Dawn, sorry to see you go. Really sorry to see you go. That's awful. How awful. It's great for live performance. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the voltage vibes thing came really from doing a grandmother and a matriarch back to front thing. The idea of being able to patch. I mean, because one of the bad things about the Big Six is that all the connections nearly are on the back, which I can't get to very easily. That's a right pain. So unless you're permanently wiring stuff in, which I guess is the idea on a console of that nature, then that's really annoying. But I mean, that's a decision that a mixer company has to make. Do you make it easily accessible, or do you make it tidy? Yeah, that's a question. Certainly one of those things I'll be asking myself about. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what people say about seeing it in a live setting, because, I mean, isn't that... Because, I mean, I'm not going to be using it as a controller. I'm not going to be using it as a playback mixer. I mean, as in streaming from the computer. I'm going to be using it, putting instruments through it live. I mean, it's not live. Well, of course, is that live? I suppose it is live. I'm just, yeah, when people say, want to see how it works live, I imagine it in a club, in a band, with a band, with a band. But I guess I'm doing that in the shed, because I'm going to be running stuff through it. I'm going to be sequencing multiple sources through it, mixing and getting the sound to sound right in order to run that straight to the computer via USB, I think, to test that bit out, or running it straight to tape. That might be even more interesting. I don't know, lots of choices, you see. It's a bloody big video. Lots of things to try out, and that all takes a lot of time. Am I going to try out the new 3-body module soon? Looks like a next step from the pizza. Are you mad? The pizza is a delight. It sits here being delightful all the time. Just going bleep blop, bleep blop, bleep blop. The 3-body is some kind of maniac. which is, it's what? Step up from the pizza. Heck. I mean, I can use a pizza without having to know anything about it. I mean, although I have spent time with it and did a proper review and everything. But I don't remember all of that. But the 3-body... I mean, I told them they were mad to send it to me. But they said, no, we'd be really interested to know what you do with it. So I do plan to do something with it. But, I mean, like I say, now I've got everything laid out. I can tell you what it is I'm supposed to be doing videos on. So I've got the chord pilot from Modular. I've got the Trinity from ModBap. Got to do a video on that. I did the Zaps, thank God. Got through that. That was good. The White Rabbit, Custer and Pollux, Particles, Mandrake, Nautilus, Acronym, a load of Air Instrument shit over here. The Aikido, got that to do. Got the Aurora, got the Eventide Misha. I've got the Chicken Eyes 6-size thing. Got the ASQ1. Oh my goodness. That's mostly it that I can think of just from where I'm sitting at the moment. But there's plenty of things that I haven't covered. Like, I mean, I've got the TubeTech 6-sequencer here. It would be nice to do a video on. The Amelia Expert Sleepers envelope, be nice to do something on that. What else? Pam's Pro workout, be nice to do something on that. Lots and lots of modules that I really should be doing videos on. That's the thing. So yes, the 3-body is on my list of things to definitely things to look at. All compressors are the same. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, no, I've heard good things about Twitch. I mean, obviously gamers use it, so it needs to be fast, I think. and competent, because gaming technology is a great driver of things. YouTube feels lazy in comparison, but also Twitch seems slightly crazy, and I think it might fry my brain. But I don't know. I don't know. Hi, Aerofoil. Yeah, just twist the bloody wires together. See, I was thinking about this the other day, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I carry all of my mistakes with me through my life, and they revisit me from time to time and go, "Oh, that's fantastic." I still feel embarrassed about that whole situation. Anyway, so this is a turnkey story, right? So this nice young woman came into turnkey, which is always nice, because it was a mostly blokey place. And she was after a little home setup. So at this time, this was really computers. So this is late 90s. And she had a very fixed budget. And so, I worked with her on a budget and managed to get her a sampler, a MIDI controller, I think. What was it? Zip drive, of course. And what was it? There was one other thing. It must have been a little synth or something, and got these things together. And she just didn't have any more money, and she really needed a mixer. And so I thought, I know, I can work this out. And I suggested to her that she go to because we didn't have the sort of cables I was thinking of, that she could go to a hi-fi shop and probably find some Y splitters that would allow her just to connect some cables together so that she could hear everything at once. And that to me seemed like a perfect solution. And she wasn't very happy about it, but I was saying, no, it will definitely work. It's very simple. It will work. It's not a problem. And that way you stay within your budget. And I, got all the other stuff together. And then she wandered off. I think. Did she buy the stuff? I think she did. And then she came back a little later and said she's been to another shop, and they told her she really, really needs a mixer. And what on earth was I doing? And she kind of was sort of annoyed at me. And my response was that, no, you don't understand. I was really honestly trying to be helpful. And, I didn't want to put you over your budget. So I was trying to give you a better idea. And, and obviously what I don't want is you coming back in here with problems. I want you to come back in here thinking that I've done a fantastic job. But what I believe to this day that she heard me say was that I don't want her coming back in here with problems. And I'm pretty sure that she went off completely pissed off. And I really pissed this poor woman off, because she thought I meant that I don't want her coming back in here with problems. When what I meant was that I don't want to see you coming back with problems. I want you to go away feeling completely happy. Do you see what I mean? That's haunted me ever since. And that's a lovely turnkey story. There you go. Working in a music shop. It sucks. I've got a dozen of those, I can tell you. Can I tell you about clock multipliers? No. So, good question. I'm going to have to take my jacket off because it's actually warming up in here now. Now, I would say that, I enjoy clocks very much, multipliers and dividers. I do a great deal. Now, but I enjoy them because, this is going to feed into how I feel about Pam's pro workout and stuff like that. I really enjoy clock multipliers because they are part of my experimental work process. So what I mean by that is, I guess, to cut to the chase, is that no, I can't really explain it to you, because I tend to use it in a kind of way. So I have a clock. Something is generating a clock somewhere. Before I had Pam's, something is generating a clock. You'll find it from somewhere. And that always goes into my clock divider. And so the fastest thing is the initial clock. I always have that going at the fastest. I need something. And then I take divisions out of that. And all it really means is that you've got a clock, a BPM, something which is running a sequence probably. And then you've got things which are running that are running in time with that, but at slower rates, because you're taking a clock division. So if I want a delay, for instance, to go run on that same sequence, but I don't want it to wang at the same time. I want it to wang slower. Nice bit of wang there. I will take one of those clock divisions off. So I don't have that plugged in because I have the PAMs now, and that has both solved all those problems and ruined all those problems all at the same time. But generally speaking, a clock divider will be flashing at the top and then flashing slower, further down the patch points you take out. Multiplier will go the other way. But as I say, I tend to start with my clock, it's the fastest, and then divide out of that rather than the other way around. Again, PAMs has ruined all of that for me. But to order to keep things in sync, I generally don't think about it in that way. I think about it in, I'm going to plug this into this device, which is either another sequence or a delay or running the rhythm, and I'm going to listen and see how I feel about that. Because I often find that happy sync-based, clocked-based accidents tend to happen a lot. And some things sound nice fast, and some things sound nice slow, and swapping them around creates a completely different vibe. And you don't necessarily find out what that is immediately through trying to plan it out. So like I say, I'm not a good person to ask about this particular thing because I do it in a very much suck it and see kind of way. How's that going? How's that? But like I say, with PAMS Pro, that sort of messed that up for me because it is ruling the timing and the sync of my system to the point where it's no longer experimental. It's kind of a bit on purpose, and that's I'm reacting, pushing back against that. I mean, the PAMS is such a useful and versatile module that I can't really take it out, but I'm still slightly frustrated by how I dial in what I want it to be. I kind of want to find it by plugging it in something which is flashing at me. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but PAMS is just a little bit too prescriptive, although you can probably tell it not to be. But I don't know, that's somehow too meta, as somebody else said, I think. So, excuse me. Yeah. What am I saying? So, I mean, I can do a quick bit of demonstration because I have both multiply and divide in the Varigate 4 Plus over here, which is a sequencer. So can I demonstrate that? How can I demonstrate that? No, I don't think it's... I don't know. Let me turn this up. Look. Oh, no! I just put something in the slot. No! Oh. It's a £2,000 mixer. I just dropped some piece of crap down the... Oh, I don't know. I'm never going to be a proper sound person. So well, anyway, there's the thing. It's going on the Varigate. You can't see that. But if I stick this into track mode, I've got both a multiply and a divide. Let me take that resonance down a little bit. So it's running at a particular speed. If I whack the division up, it will just slow down. And that's interesting. But I can stick the multiply up and that will speed it up again. Yeah, the clock's relatively slow, so that's as fast as that's going to go. I mean, that's it, really. Turn up the divide again and it goes extra super slow. If I can speed this whole thing up. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Come on, PAMs. And whack that up. So, alright, I've got to patch something now, hang on. Two. So I've now added an envelope to the filter. And at the moment it's running at the same speed as the sequencer. I can divide that. So that's now running much slower than the actual sequencer. The sequencer is now running, and this is running at a division of that. Is that helpful? I can't hear it very well. So the sync always remains because it's all running off the same clock. So now I've reversed it, so the sequence is slower. And the other one, the envelope on the filter is now running super fast. Anyway, I don't know if that was helpful at all, but that was a little bit of fun there. Just for a minute, what time are we on? I haven't even hardly drunk any of my beer. Oh, that's better. So what are we doing? Well, there you go. That was a bit of that. Today's wine. Nick Colt Void uses a Mackie 1604. God bless her. 1604. That's a classic, that is. Classic Mackie mixer. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't see what that's going to give me over my Sub-Zero, to be honest. Picture's gone a bit funny. Has it? In what way? Don't say that. And we're going to get the Amoilius envelope from Expert Sleepers. Don't know at the moment. Oz has asked, has sort of given me a poke and say, would I mind doing a video on the Amelia? Which I'm absolutely happy to. Where's all this? I've got crap coming into my mixer from somewhere. Which I'm absolutely happy to do so, intend to do so. So if I do a good job of that, he might perhaps potentially send me the other one. Who knows? But I don't know that I'm clever enough to really deal with trapezoid envelopes. I mean, envelopes are hard enough as it is without having to make them weird. I mean, I've got an Erica synths modulator which has that form of envelope in it. I think after doing the review, I don't think I've ever used it again, and I did the review several years ago. So it's almost like an environmental envelope. It needs a certain to be running in a certain environment. The Amelia, on the other hand, that whole business with the brake thing is really good. I mean, you know, if I do a review of it, obviously I'll read all the information properly. But my understanding of it is simply that it's, I don't know. Me and envelopes, it's just a thing. There's like 4 knobs, and I don't ever feel there really ever needs to be. You know, I'm a 2 knob envelope kind of guy, I think, most of the time. I mean, I say 2 knobs and a gate time, which I guess is kind of sustain, isn't it? No, it's not, because that's not a time, is it? But that's hold on a trapezoid then. Is it what is it? You know, see what I mean? It's hard. I kind of like an AHR, I think, is my perfect envelope. that you can set a gate time on. That's, I think, is what I want, which I actually think that new Expert Sleepless has. I think I just talked myself back into it. I don't know. Definitely worth a look. You're perfectly, Tony, you're perfectly within your right to say don't go modular. You know, it will save you a lot of trouble not going modular. I don't spend anywhere near enough time with proper synthesizers. I mean, I quite like doing that at shows. That's one thing I do when I go to a synth show, is actually spend some time with a proper synthesizer, which is nice. Or, I mean, I tend to do that in software, funnily enough. I tend to try things out that way. Because no one ever sends me big synthesizers. Well, not very often, anyway. I've got a high-pitched something coming from somewhere. Is it that? No. Okay. Don't worry about it. It's always the best solution. Any plans of doing another Synth East style event? Yes, Boers, thanks for the question. This was at the end of my Molten Monthly that yes, Synth East is happening 2024. Yes, end of February, 23rd, 24th of February 2024. So save the date. I'm probably not going to be kicking out too much information about it this side of the summer, because you've got Brystronica and you've got Synth Fest to deal with. I think getting, I think I'll have to have information going out before then, perhaps. But obviously those are going to be two things that need to get out of the way before we really focus on Synth East. But yeah, there's definitely plans for it. We are planning to do, essentially, that we would like to expand into a larger space. I think we could handle a larger space. There could be enough interest to do a larger space. But the larger space we'd like to do it in is not available next year. That's being completely refit, which means it will be perfect the year after. So in 2025, we're going to try to put together a much larger event, I think, which will be fun and interesting. So just for next year, for 2024, it's going to be pretty much the same as it was the year before. And that'll be great, I think. That'll be good. We're going to try to get a few more people in, I think. Might have to charge a little bit more because we barely broke even last time. And it might be nice if it was slightly cushioned. But it will be top quality stuff. It'll be the same format. So during the day on a Saturday, all the manufacturers will be there. Steve's agreed to come along again. So hopefully we'll put together another all-star Steve Davis patch off, where we have a number of people giving it a bit of a go. That'll be exciting during the day, and then in the evening some proper performances from proper people. And then on the Friday night, we're still sort of talking about this, but there was this idea to have either some kind of talk or interesting presentation from some luminary of some sort, which sounds brilliant, along with a bit of drinking and a DJ, something sort of chilled and cerebral for the Friday night for those of you who can make that, before flowing into the Saturday. So that's the plan at the moment. So it's definitely going to happen. And you're all invited. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting behind on the old comments. I don't have any other details, though, in case you're asking. So I'm on the lookout. I'm constantly on the lookout. Now, I know it's an odd thing to sort of ask if there's people who'd like to be involved and then to turn everybody down. But it's one of those things, because the patch off. I mean, it went so well last year. It was phenomenal. It was spot on. And the difficulty I'm going to have is trying to replicate the success of that. And it's also that odd thing about finding the right sort of people. Because, myself and Steve Davis, obviously, fantastic. But to have Gaz was brilliant, and to have Sam was brilliant. To have Lula was awesome. And Andrew, picking up the slack at the back. I don't mean that, Andrew. You were fantastic too. It was a perfect combination of people. It was really great. But obviously this year we want to have new people, sadly, Andrew, perhaps. But we'll see. We'll keep thoughts open, but only because just to make it interesting, so it's not entirely the same. I'm wondering whether to do it for the whole day rather than, because last year we had a couple of performances at the start, which was like a good idea for a warm up and also to do a bit of advertising for EMOM and the Synth Club, things like that. But I'm wondering whether this time, if we have enough people for the patch off, that we just do patch off all the way through. Maybe that would be fun. Although, like I say, it was quite nice having a warm up before we went on. Don't know, churning over this, but I mean, ultimately, I would like the patch off section to be with people who people know a bit, rather than just a random person who's asked if they can be on it. So while I appreciate anyone who, you're always welcome to get in touch and say, I'd love to be on it, and that's absolutely fine. I am trying to seek out some names if I can manage it. That would be preferred. And to absolutely state right up front, there's no money in it, not being paid for a performance. It's like having a bit of a laugh, having a jam along, 15 minutes, come and with a bunch of mates having a bit of a go type thing, because it's fun. Not because you're a star or anything like that. So that's the idea. It's supposed to be fun. So ideally, Suzanne Kiani would be good. Caitlin Aurelia Smith, Lisa What's-It, and Cozy Fanny Tutti. Those are the people that we want along for this, just for a laugh. That would be great. But we shall see. So there's lots of things to sort out yet. Lots of thoughts to have. Any recommendations on studio monitors? No, not at all. Although I wrote a best of roundup of studio monitors on careersinmusic.com, which is the website I write for. If you're ever looking for the best of piece of gear, whatever it is, I write all of those articles for Careers in Music, who do a lot of good stuff in connecting people up with training and producers and bits and pieces. But they have a section called Gear and Software, I think it's called, which is essentially my section. And I've been writing for them for a number of years, and I maintain a whole bunch of best ofs. Top 8 always seems to be 8 products for some reason on there. And I mean, I know everyone does these best of things, and it's a clickbaity kind of thing. Absolutely, that's what they're designed to do. But when I write them, I try really hard to find the right products that sit in there. I mean, it's always that thing where people assume, particularly people who are asking you to do this, that you use all of this equipment, and it's like, I've written best ofs of everything. My studio would be the size of a village if I actually had all of this equipment in order to try it out and to A/B it and to come to a decision, to decide on what's actually the best, and then put those in there, and then you give me 50 quid for writing the article. How is that even imaginably possible? So what I have to do is just make some hopefully intelligent, discerning guesses and considerations on what I feel would make for a good studio monitor: pair of headphones, microphone, electronic drum kit, synthesizer, modular, soundproofing, groove box, drum machine, you name it. I've done a bloody best of. So yeah, head over there and you will find one on studio monitors. I can't remember under £600 which ones I would go for. Probably Adam Audio, I imagine. But yeah, you can go and check that out over there if you like. Zip drives still are the future. I don't think the future... It would be funny if I did meet her again, because sorry, just Inky was saying that that was me about my shop story, because she had this fantastic purple hair. She had like a proper fringe bob with this amazing purple hair. I mean, she was stunning, and which means that I was doing everything in my power to make her feel awesome, because I wanted her to like me, obviously. And so that's why it grates with me doubly that I'm convinced that she went away thinking I was a complete bastard. But I absolutely was not trying to be so. Oh, it's so unjust. The world is so unjust. Gold hi-fi cables. Yeah, we just didn't have any. We just didn't have any of the right stuff. I just wanted to wind these cables around together. Just a note to say that, you know, don't engage with idiots in the chat, because I might accidentally think that you are part of the problem and might suddenly ban you, and I won't. And I'd hate to do that to someone who's just replying to some idiot. You probably know what I mean. Yeah, so just be cautious. I would, if someone's saying something just stupid, just ignore it. Just pass them by, and that way I won't accidentally find myself banning the wrong person. Do you understand? That's cool. Sorry, I'm well behind again, so I keep talking. No, I don't often mod my shoes, I have to say. Yeah, do you need a PAMS Pro? Yeah, I mean, everybody does, really. I mean, I pushed back against that for a long, long time. I said, no, I don't need a PAMS. I know everyone's got a PAMS. I don't need a PAMS. I've got my clock divider, my Dopefer, cheap as chips clock divider. I'm a happy bunny. I'll find a clock from somewhere. There's something always has a clock, and I can take that and use that and divide it, and I'm happy. But then the new PAMS came out, and I thought, oh, what the heck? Everyone keeps going on about it, and everyone's assuming I've got a yellow button to press. So I thought, sod it, I'll get it. Why not? What harm can it do? It might actually give me some decent clocks. So I did, and of course it does bleed and everything. Clocks everything all over the place, and does more than that. Does Euclidean rhythms and other waveforms and LFOs and bits and pieces, and I use it. It's chocker full all the time, because I'm no longer using my strip of clock dividers. I now use that for everything. But like I said, it's different because you're setting 8 outputs relative to its own BPM, and you're setting it to a clock, and it's much less experimental. It can be, because you can just fiddle with it and try to get something in, but the problem is that you're moving through clocks. It's not like patching, you know. You're patching into the one that's flashing in the way you'd like it to flash. Is different to dialing through, because it interrupts the clock, and the clock is like mixing about as you're going through partial clocks to get to the clock that you're after. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe there's a way of moving the dial on PAM so that it doesn't make the clock go until you've reached your destination. Maybe that's it. So if you're trying to do clocking properly, then yes, PAMS is a great idea. If you like to do clocking in a more of a haphazard way, then maybe it's not the best way forward. And I'm going to have to think about whether I should use my clock divider again, because there's something in that. There's also something in using a clock divider which has already got stuff in it, so you don't actually get any choice. You have to just plug it in the spare one, and so your patch is being pushed about through the limitation of how many sockets you've got. See, you can't get that on the PAMS because you can set it to whatever you like. Yeah, some thought. Thank you, Village Green, on my fader action. I say I'm well back again. I'm going to have to come down quite quickly to... Do you just buy models because it's cool to see the coloured cables and blink lights? Yeah, I do, absolutely. That is absolutely a thing. Time Mangler listens to audio input with a bandpass filter and adjusts the clock timing depending on frequencies it hears. Interesting. A Hoover, yeah. No, I do have one. I mean, there shouldn't be any... I mean, it's sat here for a month, sadly, so I haven't had the time to look at it yet. Am I still playing with the plankton? Yes, I am. It's been, I mean, it was in, I sort of, I've got various cases for various things. And in order to focus on a review, I often have to put it in a little case, the thing that I'm working on, with just a couple of other modules so I can really focus down on it. Otherwise, I get lost in some other patch. So it sat in that case for a little while, but now it's back in here, which I'm just still building this bottom case here with the things that I want to be focusing on. And so it's back in here, which is good. It's good because it's good. It is very good. And I feel I will be using it. Antonio, we talk about reactor. That's exactly the reason why I don't like it. That's exactly where my flip came from. It's the limitless nature of the door of the computer, which absolutely drove me into the limited nature of this. The limitless nature of the computer is what it had reduced my creativity down to nothing, down to clicking through things and getting frustrated at plugins and not going to another plugin and another plugin, another plugin, another load of presets. It absolutely undermined any thoughts I had of creativity. Now, that doesn't do that for everyone. That was my story, my journey. And so spilling out into little bits of hardware to start with just released me from this perpetual moving through of another plugin and another preset. And it was that then made me leap to modular, precisely because I had massive limitations, precisely because I could only use a small number of things. Now, of course, all of that concept is blown out of the water by having an overwhelming supply of different modules, of course. But that idea and that concept reintroduced me into that tactile, linear idea of just following cables around and plugging things in. And I still, despite the fact I've got lots of modules now, I still feel that it's contained and that it is working within that container, which I can change around all the time. I can completely reform my container, but playing within that space, I've found myself far more creative than I have been for years and years of using software. Other people find that different. I don't mean to say you must move on from software because you're an idiot. No, not at all. That was just my experience. And you know, the advantages of a computer in its limitlessness almost, I now see as a disadvantage, is what I'm saying. Am I coming to Knobcom? No, that's in America. I don't get to America very often. In fact, I've only ever got to America on somebody else's money. So yeah, no. Yeah, DivKid had a great time at Synths. We had a great time with him at Synths. Yeah, seemed to enjoy that. He wasn't into performing, funnily enough. He said didn't fancy it. He was just quite happy just to be there. And he quite liked the fact he wasn't really involved in organising it, because it's like at Bristronica, he's doing a whole load of seminars and bits and pieces, or running some talks. So he does get largely involved in things, and what he quite liked about Synths was that nothing was required of him. He was just there chilling, having a nice time, and that was cool, and he's absolutely welcome to do that. I'd love him to be involved in the patch off, and I will of course be asking him, but it's entirely up to him really, and I absolutely totally respect his willingness to knock around. I think that's great. I do that a lot. And he did sort out the Friday night get together we had, so I'm very appreciative to Ben for that. Have I finally got down to these? I talked about this ages ago. I better skip on down again. Sorry, everyone. I'm going to have to skip, because otherwise it's going to go on to too long. I've broken it now. So Bradley says, a great deal of modern modular systems are just networks of microcontrollers performing specific functions using low bandwidth analog cables to patch data from one to another. I imagine that's true. I imagine that it's of no consequence understanding that or knowing that to any degree. Hi, James. Cool. Well, I seem to have got to the bottom of most of that. Sorry, I missed you leaving, Andrew. Take care of yourself, fella. Oh, the PAMS expander. That's interesting. I will give that some thought. Anyway, I think we should probably wind this up soon, if that's okay, everyone. Have I tried the 512 sequencer? No, I haven't. It looks quite mind-boggling. It looks a little bit overwhelming, I have to say. But no, I've had no contact with 512 at all. The Moog and the InMusic thing. Yeah, I mean, what you have to understand about Sound on Sound magazine is it's 2 months between writing and publication. So they won't have... it won't be in there, and at least until the September issue, I wouldn't have thought. 8 weeks, I think, 2 months. Yeah. So, they're all, that's just how long the print world takes. So while they might put a news story on their website, I suppose that's possible, to actually get something in print, there's just too much of a delay. So, so it might well turn up in the next issue. So what have we just had? We've just had July's. So it will be August's probably. Yeah, something like that. So I imagine they will say something about it, but I imagine they'll do it in an unbiased, calm, newsworthy way. They don't tend to push opinion in that way with Sound on Sound. They'd like to walk the line of factual representation of things as opposed to emotional pleas or that kind of thing. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what occurs. We still don't really know what's going on in the minds of all the people involved and what it will end up being. What I did notice, though, is that Uli is having a bit of a poor me moment with a nice long paragraphed statement on all of his Facebook groups saying, "Oh, I'm really a victim. Everyone's so hard on me. And here's something for the critics that, we're really just trying to save the world. Why can't you just let me get on with saving the dolphins that I am, and these poor baby puppies here that would just be, they would be strangled if I wasn't here, Love me or I will shoot the puppy." Yeah. I don't quite understand that. I mean, there's he has this real chip on his shoulder about magazines. I mean, that's partly my fault because I completely ruined their last foray into magazine reviews, and I'm sorry about that. I wasn't intentional. I just sort of blew it for them, but because they were such a difficult customer, there's no company like them as far as trying to deal with them in terms of a review goes, because they, they're just unstable, I think is the word. I mean, I'm just talking about, I don't know who I'm talking about exactly. This company, Behringer, or Music Tribe, or is it the man himself? I'm not entirely sure, but trying to deal with them as a reviewer was massively difficult. Not like anyone else you would ever deal with, ever. Well, no, yeah. I would think that's fair to say. So they say, oh yeah, we get minimal coverage in magazines because we don't buy in to the buying of reviews and bias reviews, and we don't buy into the advertising thing. And that's just such a load of bollocks. It's just not, none of that is true. Well, no, it is true that they don't spend money on adverts and they don't buy reviews, but that's because no one does. No one buys reviews. No one puts in adverts in a magazine in order to get favourable reviews. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And I'll tell you why. I mean, very simply, no one has the time. No one has the time. No magazine is so well connected within itself between its different departments of people selling advertising, people writing the stuff. There is no connection between these things. So me as a reviewer, writing a review on like what did I write it on? The TD3MO. My writing of a review on there had nothing to do with the sales and advertising department. I don't know who is in the sales and advertising department. There is no connection between those two things. Writing the review about it, because I try to be an honest and authentic person, I'm not writing a biased review. I didn't even get to keep the device, Sound on Sound is paying me to write a review on this piece of gear. So that's the relationship. There's no other relationship. There's no conscious bias. There's no buying of advertising space. None of that stuff exists except for in Yuli's head. It's bizarre. And so instead, I just write a review of this thing and I send it to Sound on Sound and they print it. That's just how it works. But the only way it can work is for the company to send us the thing for review. That's it. That's the only other contact, is that thing there. And so any other company, I mean, I've just reviewed, for instance, the S1, the Roland S1 Tweak Synth, because Roland sent me the S1 Tweak Synth to review. Again, no contact between me and the company, no requirement, no advertising, none of those things are going on to have any effect on what I write about the S1. I write my review and I'm honest and as authentic about it as I can be, and I send that to Sound on Sound and they print it. That's it. But unfortunately, Behringer don't get that sort of coverage because they don't send the products in. They refuse to. And they're not going to do it for some reason because they think everyone's out to get them. And so they don't send it in for review. I don't understand. So anyway, long story short, we finally got round, because Sound on Sound do review their things from time to time because the reviewers own them. So for instance, I own an MS-101. Did I do the review on that? No, I don't think I did. But theoretically, I could have done. And other people have bought other bits of Behringer gear, like the Deep Mind, and they bought them and so reviewed them. So anyway, we got Behringer finally to calm down enough to send us this TT3MO, and they did. And they got really upset because I don't know, I said something somewhere about something. I think I wrote a news article about it at the same time as reviewing it. So it wasn't a review, it was a news article, but they got upset because I was supposed to be reviewing it and I wasn't supposed to be releasing anything anywhere else. Anyway, they were just shouting on the phone, and as a reviewer, not that it came to me, but my editor, as an editor of a magazine, you don't want to have to be dealing with companies shouting at you for reasons that no one can quite understand. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, I'm sure Behringer, I'm sure Uli stings with all of the criticism, but some of the criticism is bang on, And this is something I've said all along, every single time when we come up against this question of what Behringer are doing, is that they could absolutely own the entire synthesizer space just by reproducing legendary synthesizers. They do that, they do it well, they do it cheaply, everybody loves it. There would not be a problem. There'd be one or two sort of elitist purists going, no, well, you can't you know, the sound of this £100 box is nowhere near my £10,000 box, you know, and that's fine. That's fine. People can have that opinion, but there'd only be one or two of those. But generally speaking, everyone would love it, and everyone does love them bringing back classic old legendary synthesizers. What most of us can't stand is the cloning of existing products, simply because it's rude and not very nice. It's just not very nice, and it makes us feel weird. And why should we feel weird about music gear? You know, there's absolutely no reason for that to be a choice we'd have to make. So if they just didn't copy Arturia MIDI keyboards, if they didn't do the subharmonicon, you know, if they let other companies make products for themselves, and Behringer made their own products rather than just copying someone else so blatantly, then they would absolutely be universally loved. I don't understand why they keep doing that, because it's, you know, within the law, it's completely legal, but doing that and then moaning about why people criticize them, you know, there's something missing in that mindset, which is a shame, because, as I say, they could be universally awesome. When they first released that RD8 and the MS-101, the Odyssey, I think it was, everybody loved it. Everyone was all over it. You know, DivKid did a thing, Synth Anatomy did a thing, Sonic State did a thing, all at Super Booth. Everyone's saying, this is fantastic. And, you know, they could have done that, and they would have been awesome. As it is, you know, you have to make a decision on how you feel about that. And that's weird. Why should we have to do that? Why do we have to make decisions about companies because they feel dodgy to us? Why? It's so unnecessary. So there you go. That's my Behringer attack thing, which is not very attacky. It's just more of disappointment that they couldn't slightly be more gallant, you know. Why not be awesome when given an opportunity and a choice? Why be awesome, right? Why not be awesome rather than just a bit sort of mean? Anyway, that's enough of that, I imagine. I'll get myself jumped on by the Behringer squad. So let me finish my beer. They feel very cheap. Sure, yeah, because I mean they are cheap, but for the price they're great, you know. Absolutely. And I mean I absolutely respect the fact that they are looking into sustainable packaging. You know, I thought that was a really nice thing. What a nice thing to do. Because they've got a lot of packaging, you know, for them to think about recycling and environmental situations. A company that size producing that many products, that's a really positive thing, would actually have an impact, rather than some poor modular maker who makes like 10 a year has decided to wrap them in rice paper in order to save the planet. You know, that has like no impact, but Behringer could have a massive impact, you know. Yeah, see, I mean, in the commentary, you can see that everyone who has a classic synth made by Behringer really loves it and enjoys it. Why not just do that? Just do that. And you would find it really hard to be disliked, I think. But anyway. Yeah, Wagyu, I absolutely understand your point completely. Um, about Behringer consider these things, you know, essentially what you're saying is that the subharmonicon at 600 quid or whatever it is out of most people's reach. You know, I think it's okay for things to be out of some people's reach. I don't think we should be entitled necessarily to have everything. cheap necessarily. And well, I mean, it comes back to the just because you can make something cheaper, it doesn't mean that you should really. But make something else. Just make something else. That's what I would say. Just make something else. Make your own product rather than just take somebody else's thing, because there's an element in there that you just feel it's not fair. This other company has spent all this time in thinking about it and conceiving this product and bringing it to market and gone through all of those things, produced 1,000 videos on how it works and how it runs and everything else. Behringer don't do any of that. They don't put any thought in. They don't consider anything. They don't put any tutorials out there. Their manual is nothing. Usually just a list of labels and functions. They allow everybody else to generate the content which helps people to run these things. And it's just not a very pleasant way to work. But hey, I mean, it does give us access to things cheaper. That's great. But we could still get good, cheap stuff from them in other ways, Anyway, blah, blah, it will go round and round in circles. Okay, last question as I'm just finishing my beer. Antonio asks, or says, I'm not sure, Resident Advisor recently released an article saying that we've reached the peak of synth technology. What do you think? Because we've seen the same features every year. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I guess the question is, are there any new synthesizer forms, and does that matter? Is that important? I mean, coming from a modular point of view, I've got half a dozen oscillators based on the same oscillator chip. What's the point of that? Why do we bother? And it's an interesting question, a fair question, which I kind of reflect back to guitars in many ways, as in, why make more guitars? I mean, we've got a guitar, right, and it makes a sound. We've got a few different types, one with a hollow body, solid body, different sorts of pickups. And yet we still get more guitars. I mean, the amount of guitar stuff that goes on Gear News every week from yet another press release of yet another bunch of guitars is extraordinary, So there's an element of... what is there an element of? I mean, I think if you're someone who feels you could start making some modules, you're just trying to produce something which is interesting in terms of design, layout and functionality, because people like interesting things, even though they may already have something which does very much a lot of what that already does. Having another guitar because it's got an interesting curve on it, or it might have an interesting arrangement of pickups on it, or it might be by a particular designer. There's lots of reasons why we continue to buy stuff, even though it's still essentially the same. In the same 6 strings, same 6 notes, and we're talking about the same oscillator technology, same filter technology. Why do we keep rebuying it? I guess is a question. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I can answer that. I mean, I have 3 guitars, I think. And I'm a guitarist, I've never fallen down the rabbit hole of having to buy lots of different guitars. I've never had the money. The miracle with Eurorack is that because it's kind of what I do, it's enabled me to buy into bits of modular as a business, as opposed to individually like I would have to with guitars. So it's become it's become an expense, which is at a source, which ends up being a source of revenue. Does that make sense? And also I get given stuff as well for free, which is also nice. So I'm in a very privileged position from that point of view. What am I talking about? I don't know. We do keep reinventing the wheel. It's true. Absolutely we do. We do keep building mini Moogs over and over and over and over again. Why do we do that? I don't know. I think because there's so many permutations. I think there's so many possibilities within the elements of user interface, of tactileness, of how we interact with a design, with a way something works and a way something sounds. I think there's almost an infinite possibilities or infinite permutations in how that can come together. And that's interesting. And also there's always other things to think about. I mean, again, this is why modular is interesting as opposed to a synthesizer. I mean, you know, Korg recently released their WaveState SE and their Op6 SE, and it's just a bigger keyboard, but it's, you know, it becomes a whole other thing. I don't know that we need more of those really necessarily. I mean, the number of big synths that have been coming out recently seems to have slowed, certainly. But then the number of small synths has definitely kept on going. And of course we've got 50 synths to come still from Behringer. You know, these little farty mini things. Maybe. So, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly, absolutely, it's worth some talking about or thinking about. But I think that suggests that there's some kind of finite configuration of synthesis, and I don't necessarily think that there is. I think it can keep on going because we like stuff, and also stuff breaks and we need to replace stuff, and we'd much rather replace something with something which has evolved and has become more interesting than with just the same thing over and over again. I mean, potentially, I guess everyone is going to have the same collection of Behringer synths at some point. We will get to that saturation, and is that good or bad, or does it matter? I don't know that it matters. You know, the end result is always going to be a bit synthy, and that's okay. Well, however it is that you've made it. So yeah, interesting. It is risky to come up with something different, sure. But also, there's a lot of people who are just passionate about synthesizers. I mean, it's a massive hobby. You can't get, I mean, not everyone, in fact, I would say very few people, actually buy synthesizers because they are music producers producing music and need a different tonal library. The vast majority of us are hobbyists who just enjoy the whole environment around, or the whole orbit of synthesizers, because they're interesting in so many different ways. You've got an object, you've got electronics, you've got creativity and sound generation, you've got user interface, you've got time loss through using it, you've got meditation and mindfulness in getting into it, you've got excitement, you've got that nostalgia feeling of, oh, I could really make a hit record, that potential that's in there. So many things revolve around the idea of owning a synthesizer. You know, it's an extraordinary hobby. It's not like, I don't know, Warhammer, which is an extraordinary hobby, but there's nowhere near as many permutations and possibilities as there are with owning a synthesizer. You don't paint your little Warhammer figures thinking, wow, you know, this is going to get me on the telly. You know, this is going to get me some kind of contract into warhammering. No, you do it because it's fun and it's interesting and it has its situation. But a synthesizer promises all sorts of things, and it potentially gets you into certain places. It allows you to talk about stuff with certain people. You know, there's so much tied up in the ownership of a synthesizer. It's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. But bloody hell, I am going to be famous. I mean, since losing the beard, obviously, 10 years off my face, I could get on the cover of Smash Hits, couldn't I? Now, don't you think? It would be someone's dad plays electronica. Right, time to go. Yeah, the DIY aspect. Yes, I guess I was, for that moment, I was just talking about proper hardware synthesizers. But yes, DIY brings in a whole other element. And the weird thing about DIY modular is that it doesn't actually have to be related to this at all. The process of soldering something together is a whole other hobby in of itself. And whether it's making sound or whether you're building a refrigerator, you know, it's that's not necessarily important, because the process of soldering and putting together PCBs and components is interesting in of itself. Get on the cover of Air Traffic Control magazine. No, I don't think so. Don't think so. Don't think so. So I'm going to turn up a thing. Look. Oh, it's not on anymore. What did I do? Oh, I turned off PAMs. You see, that's the crazy thing. You can turn stuff off with PAMs. I don't know what Nautilus is doing. I'm twiddling knobs on it. I don't have any clue. I've really got to sit down with it, try to work that out, because it's a flipping weird thing. So yeah, I'll leave you with a quick whiz around on this for 2 minutes, and thanks ever so much. Give her a biker magazine. Thanks ever so much for coming along. I will have videos coming out this month, I hope. Possibly the mixer, possibly a few other things. I'd really like to just focus on and get through a bunch of videos, but you know, I've also got work to do, and I've got the summer holidays coming up. Oh my goodness, before we know it. So heck. But anyway, thank you for spending time with me this evening. It's been great. We've had over 100 people all the time, I think, which is quite extraordinary. So I really appreciate that. So if you like what I do think about, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Do consider becoming a Patreon. Becoming a patron on Patreon, where you can give us £1 and it helps me produce videos, and we have a lovely squashy time together. That's fantastic. Or just subscribe, all those sorts of things. It'd be great to have you around. I do try to make videos on music production, on synthesizers, on modular, sometimes on tape. I've got stuff on tape coming along, stuff on software, pardon me, from time to time. Other bits and pieces, you know, whatever takes my fancy, really. Always happy to answer questions. Do get in touch. You can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on I don't know, other places. So that's great. It's great having you around. It's been a nice chat. Thanks very much for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to go and get myself some pudding, take it to bed, I think. But I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this little whizzy sequence, just for fun. I'm turning the wrong one. That's weirdly out, isn't it? Cheers.